Well, Election Day is right around the corner. Last week, we talked to Republican 3rd District Congressman Chuck Fleischmann. This week, we hear from his challenger, Democratic candidate Meg Gorman. She joins us in the studio this afternoon to cover a variety of topics, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Okay, let's jump right into it. Of course, early voting wraps up tomorrow. Yep. Election Day is next week. We begin with, first of all, what do you feel that you could do for the 3rd District that Congressman Fleischmann is not doing?
Well, first and foremost, he has been my representative for the past going on 12 years now. And I have yet to see any level of responsiveness from Representative Fleischmann. And when I'm out in the district talking with voters, that's what I'm hearing from voters as well. It's not just Democrats, it's also independents, it's Republicans, and they're telling me that they are not able to reach their representative. They don't feel heard, they don't feel represented. So that would be our starting point, is listening to the people of the district and taking action based on what is needed in the district.
So then in 2020, Congressman Fleischmann got 67% of the vote. You got 30%. Now that's a lot of ground to make up. How do you see yourself making up that ground? I know you say you are out there, you're listening to people, you feel that people say they're not being heard. So how do you though make up that much ground in this election in this district?
Of course. Well, I'm a full-time worker. Last cycle, beginning to end, this campaign was only 5 months. I was working full-time in a frontline job during a global pandemic. And so we were really limited in what we could do. This time is different. We're able to actually meet with people face to face and do so safely. We're able to have these large events and also just turning people out to vote. Big piece of it is that people aren't showing up. We know that. And I think especially with what happened over the summer with the decision overturning Roe, I think we're seeing that a lot of people, especially a lot of women, are energized and are really motivated to show out.
And I think you hit on a big point right there. There was a voter rally held this past weekend, and one of the things that came out of the story from that was the fact that the percentage of people who are registered but who were not casting a ballot. Yeah. So again, though, we're talking about people wanting to be heard and reaching those people. So how do you reach those people to say that I'm the person that hears you, I'm the person that can help make a difference in your community?
Of course. Well, I'm going door to door. I'm going into communities regardless of what the demographics are. I don't care if these demographics are heavily red, heavily blue. I will speak with anyone. I will listen to anyone. I'm in leadership. I work in a leadership role. If there's one thing that working in a public-facing job has taught me, working in leadership has taught me, it's that leadership means listening to people, even when you don't see eye to eye. It means being responsive. It means meeting combativeness with compassion. And that's what I bring. And the number of Republican voters who I've spoken with face to face who do trust that I will do the right thing, that I will lead with integrity. And so we'll really see when I'm meeting with people face to face, I'm walking away with support.
Another big thing during this election is that some Democratic candidates say the unpopularity of President Biden right now is kind of weighing them down. Your thoughts on his performance, and is that playing a factor, do you think, or will play a factor in your particular race?
Sure. I'll start by saying I think that the situation that President Biden came into was an incredibly difficult one to handle, to navigate. I think all things considered, he's done a reasonable job of handling it. I don't think anyone's perfect. I think that there's always room for opportunity. However, I will say that what I tell voters is the same thing that I've told the folks here in the Democratic Party, which is I'm not running to represent a party. I'm running to represent the people of this district. I'm not blindly pledging allegiance to a party. I'm not going to vote party line every single time, because when anyone does that, it is a disservice to the people of the district and the people of the nation.
You know, one of the things too is that we asked Congressman Fleischmann last week about debates, you know, used to be a big part of the political system, and that was just standard. And so when I asked him, you know, why not debate or hold town halls, he told me that he didn't want it to turn into a shouting match, but that he was out in the community and out in his district. Your thoughts on the fact that you have not had a debate with Congressman Fleischmann?
It is not for lack of trying. We have been invited to debate multiple times this cycle and last. He has always either declined or just refused to respond to the invitation entirely. You know, these are trusted, nonpartisan organizations who are hosting these. There was one earlier in the year, this summer, that was hosted by the University of Tennessee Network, Lipscomb University, and USA Today, the Tennessean. And he didn't show up. And I know, I think it was actually the last time he debated was almost a decade ago. And he actually said during that debate, and that was in a Republican primary, he said, debate is foundational to our democracy. This is what our founding fathers had in mind when they talked about the Constitution. It's informative. We owe it to voters to do this. But to my knowledge, he has not debated since making that statement about the importance of debate. So I do think it's a huge disservice. What I do know is that he has publicly said that he can stay in this seat as long as he wants, which I think is showing gross entitlement. And it's upsetting. No one should feel entitled to sit in a position with no accountability, refusing to serve the people of the district. And I think it's embarrassing for him. I think it's embarrassing for our district.
Meg Gorman, thank you so much for, again, tackling a wide range of issues, and we are glad that you came today as well.
Thank you.
Again, we had Congressman Chuck Fleischmann on last week in the November 8th election, and you can watch his interview from last week on our website. The election again is November 8th. You can find this full interview as well after the show with candidate, his opponent, Meg Gorman, as well online.